So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. First things first, I hope you guys are enjoying the new kind of set, if you like, that I've got. Obviously it's very different. I'm actually working out of a different room, a different kind of office in my house. I'm actually really enjoying it, so hopefully you guys are liking the new setup as well. Anyway, besides from the point, in this video, I'm going to be going through e-com outreach follow-up emails. This is actually a question that I get asked on a very, very frequent basis, and it's one that I don't believe I've really covered in depth on the channel. So in this video, I want to go through exactly how to structure your follow-up emails in the best way possible that's going to warrant the best results, and also the things that you need to be thinking about and the things that you need to understand in regards to follow-up emails and kind of the state of mind as well that the client is once they get to those said follow-up emails. So as always guys, just before we jump into the video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You guys know what to do. And with that being said, let's jump straight into the video. So the first thing we need to understand before we get into specifics of follow-up emails and what you should have in them and whatnot, there's one thing that you need to understand before we go into that. And that is that there's a reason, okay? There's a reason why the client or the prospect at this point, there's a reason why the prospect hasn't booked in a call yet. Right? And usually there's two reasons. There may be exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, there's going to be two reasons. And that is, first things first, they got distracted, right? And you guys know that I'm very, very much an advocate of the fact that email outreach to sign clients is basically identical to Facebook ads and getting results with Facebook ads, right? The process, the ideas behind, email outreach on cold and then follow-up emails is very, very in line with Facebook ads on cold and retargeting Facebook ads, right? And so as I mentioned, the first reason as to why the client wouldn't have booked in a call just yet is because they may have got distracted. Exactly like why some people add a product to the cart, but then they get distracted and they don't buy. It's the exact same reason. They may be in the middle of doing something when they opened it and then they bounced because they had to go and do something else, or maybe, their wife called them or their husband called them, or whatever it is, they got distracted. That's the first reason. The second reason, and I would probably say this second reason is more of the frequent reason as to why people don't respond or take action on your emails as you would like them to do, and that is that the message didn't resonate. Okay, so oftentimes the CTA isn't actually the problem. So the action you want them to take, whether it's to book in a call, whether it's them to respond to say yes that they want to see a case, whatever your outreach process is, oftentimes it's the thing that you're asking them to do, that isn't the problem. It's what you've said beforehand. It's how you've got to that point, right? They would hop on a call with you if they can see that there's true, real value from that they can get out of hopping on the call with you, right? So that shows us that the call isn't the problem. It's what they think they're going to get out of the call. It's what they think they're going to get out of the Loom video, right? The case study, if that's an approach that you take, right? So how you get to that CTA is where the majority of the work is, right? And so on the first email, if they haven't responded, they could have got distracted or the message didn't resonate. So on your first follow-up email, right? So you've sent email 1, email 2, that follow-up email. At least what I do, and it works amazingly well, we keep the same CTA, right? So for example, we don't now switch, in the first email, if we ask for a call, email 2, we don't then ask for a Loom video or a case study, right? So we'll keep this CTA constant. We, at the moment, at Bax Consulting, the team at Bax Consulting, the appointment setters, etc., we're asking for a Loom video, right? We're asking if they want to see a case study. So we keep that constant on email 1 and email 2. What changes on email 2, follow-up email number 1, right, is the approach that we take to that case study, to that CTA. And the reason that we change up the approach that we take to get to the CTA on email 2 is because in email 1, we know that it just didn't resonate with them. That's why they didn't take action. Now, again, there is the other question of like, oh, well, they may have got distracted. Well, yeah, but then that email 2 will serve as the kind of retargeting email anyway. And that's going to then make them want to take action anyway because they got reminded to book in a call, right? So it kind of kills two birds with one stone at that point, right? So that's the first thing, right? Remember, there's a reason they didn't book in a call on the first email. Two reasons majority of the time. 1, distracted. 2, the message didn't resonate. So on email 2, your second follow-up email, or your first follow-up email, but it's email 2, take a different approach to the same CTA. Oftentimes the CTA isn't the problem, it's the approach that you take. Now for email 3, what we like to do, or email 3, follow-up email 2, right? What we like to do with this one is kind of use it as a bump email. So we just like, I get so many emails each and every day from, service providers reaching out to me for the education company. I get, obviously I'm on a couple email lists, so I'll get a couple like promotional emails. I'll get, sometimes we get, like Slack. We've got this thing set up with Pipedrive and Slack where like if something gets moved into a specific column in Pipedrive, it alerts Slack. Slack then alerts me on email as well as on Slack. I get a lot of emails, right? So for example, if a service provider reached out to me, you're a service provider reaching out to e-com clients, right? It's the same dynamic. Sometimes their email will just get pushed down. And because all these other emails are coming in on top, so it gets pushed down. So email 3, as I mentioned, we like to use that as just a bump email. Now, one thing that I want to mention, a bump email is useless if it's in a new thread, right? Because if you send email 1 and then it gets pushed down, and then you send email 2, a new email. So this email 1 has already gone. So then email 2, it's a new email, and that gets pushed down. And then email 3 is called a bump email for a reason, right? It's to bump your previous email. But if you send that as a new thread, it's just going to say, hey, what were your thoughts on my previous email? But they're not going to have your previous email, right? So what you want to do is your first 3 emails, always reply to the original one. So it's only in one thread, right? For one client, first 3 emails is one thread. So email 1 and then email 2, which is follow-up email 1, you reply to email 1, right? You reply to email 1 and you conduct your email 2 outreach. And then email 3 is, as I mentioned, it's a bump email. So you reply to email 2. So it's all in the same thread because that will bump the entire conversation to the top. So then when they open it and they say, and you ask, what are your thoughts? Would love to hear kind of what you're thinking. Is this something that you're wanting to actively pursue? However you want to construct your bump emails, that's not the problem. It's the fact that you need to make sure you've replied, because then they'll read it, what's your thoughts, and then they can just simply look up and look at the previous emails that you sent, and then that will rejig their memory and be like, oh, it's this person. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and book in a call, get the case study, whatever it is. So now at this point, this is where we now start to do new threads, because you don't want to have too many emails in one thread because it will look as though you're spamming, right? And if it's all right there in front of them, it's all in one thread, like you've got like 19 emails in one thread, it just looks like you're spamming. So we do the first 3 emails in the same thread, and then after the email 3 sent, follow-up email 2 is sent, we still follow up with specific clients. So what we now do is do it in new threads, right? So we do a new composed email and we send that out to them. Now what we do, the content of these types of emails, it's more abnormal type stuff, and it's not overly scripted at this point. We like to try and just be unique and be different than, again, all the other agencies that are reaching out to the same client, right, the same prospect. And I've actually got another video coming out before or after this one, I don't really know, that goes through that idea of the fact that there is a lot of other agencies reaching out to these same prospects, and so you ought to be different. You need to change something up so that you stand out from the other 20 emails that they've received from other agencies that same day, right? And so at this point, this is where we really try and hone in on that. Like the first 3 emails, you need to be unique, you need to be different, but you can only be so different, right, when you're trying to pitch a call, right? So there's definitely a limit on how different you can be, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get the call, you're trying to get them to say yes to a case study, whatever it is. So now we go very, very different. Now we're just trying to stay at the forefront of their minds. So now at this point, we've sent the first 3 emails, no response, or maybe there is a response, but there's no book call or whatever it is, right? They've not taken the action that we want them to take. So now what we do is bi-weekly, we'll send them some sort of case study, which is more of it doesn't have to be specific. If it's a case study, you can go more just broad. So record 1 Loom video, 1 case study video. Keep it, it doesn't have to be overly long, but just kind of flex your results, right? Show results. Now, obviously, if you're not going to need clients, then it's going to be this bit you don't really need to do, because obviously you can't, you've got no results to show. But I'm just saying, very transparent on this YouTube channel. I show you and tell you guys exactly what we do, what I'm doing right now at Bax Consulting, and what the appointment setting team at Bax Consulting is doing. And that's one thing that we're doing, right? We're showing client results, we're showing client ad accounts, showing kind of just what can happen when you have a good product market fit, you've got a good, you have good creatives, you've got a good sales process, and you couple those things with, just perfectly crafted advertising. These are the results that we can get. So then we'll kind of send that out to the leads that have either shown interest or they've replied, but they haven't booked in a call, right? And by them showing interest, it doesn't mean to say that they've physically responded or whatever. A good way for you to see if a client's shown interest or not is by simply looking at how many times they've opened emails. You know, if a client opens an email, or a prospect, I should say, if they open an email like 5-6 times, you kind of know they're interested, because you know yourself, you don't open an email 5 or 6 times if you're not somewhat interested in what that email has to say, right? So that's the first thing. And also what else we do is kind of like, you know, so you can do the client results. So, you know, in those videos, you kind of want to just show your best client results. And also something else you can do is if you get client testimonials, you know, like videos or messages from a client, and they just say like, you know, guys, really happy with your work this month. You know, we've blown our projections out the water, whatever it is, whatever they say. Show that as well, you know, kind of just coming from different angles like that, because that also shows the prospect that you're reaching out to that you know, you are practicing what you preach. You genuinely got clients on board right now who are genuinely benefiting from your service, and so there's no reason why they can't benefit from your same service as well. Now, something else that we also do at this point, so this point, as I say, it's not really a step-by-step thing or an exact process that we take each and every client through, because it's kind of more case by case. And you know, if we've just hit an amazing ROAS day, for example, then we'll just use that because we've just hit it. You know, it's not a set out and is laid out and as strategic as that first 3 emails is, because you'll find that majority of the action is taken in that first 3 emails, in one of those first three emails. And then after, it's good to keep hitting them, but you know, for the most part, if you've sent your first 3 emails and they're constructed very well, and they still haven't taken the desired action that you want them to take after the first 3 emails, at least from us, my personal experience, I found that not too much else will happen, right? You know, you definitely do get the odd client booking in a call, like on the 9th email, for example, if you send that many. But as I say, the majority of the time, 70% of your calls will be booked from those first 3 emails. So that needs to be set out properly, and that really needs to you know, ensure that it gives yourself the best chance of getting them to book in a call, right? After that, it's kind of just like case by case. And so another thing that we do, if there is, you know, because sometimes you'll reach out to a brand and they're a perfect brand, like everything about them is absolutely amazing. You 100% know that you can get them amazing results. Like they're just the perfect brand. What we do for those clients as well is we actually send them a personalized Loom video, kind of like a retargeting video, where we'll actually break down a couple specific things about what they're currently doing. So it's very targeted to them specifically, right? So maybe they have got an amazing Instagram following, but in that ads library, there's not that many ads. And so, you know, one thing that you could say is that they need to start, you know, retargeting their Instagram following, because that's an amazing audience to target, right? The social stack, Facebook engages, Instagram engages 365 days. If they're not leveraging that audience, not that you'll be able to see, but it's a pretty safe bet that they won't be if they're not running that many ads, right? You see where I'm going? And so they're a couple of the retargeting type videos that we also like to send out to prospects, where after, you know, they've still not responded after the 4th email, but we really want to get them on board as a client. So we'll go ahead and do that, for example. So that is kind of a very 30,000 foot view on how we attack and our thinking behind follow-up emails, the kind of the psychology that, you know, that you've got to remember the client's in at that point. There's reasons why they haven't booked in the call. And as I say, that's kind of how we go about attacking those follow-up emails in a way that's going to elicit the best results possible, and obviously try and get that low-hanging fruit that is there. As I say, it's exactly the same type of thinking that you got to attack email follow-ups with as you do with Facebook retargeting. It's the same dynamic, it's the same kind of situation. It's just that it's a different medium. One's emails and one's through Facebook ads, for example, right? So I hope you was able to pull a couple actionable tips from this video that you can now go ahead and implement into your e-com outreach follow-up emails. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. As always, go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.